Alright, bookworms and constant readers, welcome back to Final Girl Horror. I am your host, Chelsea, and today we will be talking about Stephen King's collection of short stories, The Bazaar of Bad Dreams. This entire collection has a theme of death to it. It's got some really cool stories, it's got some okay stories. Like every book that we talk about, we start with the cover because, as you've heard me say 100 times before, I love book covers. I totally judge a book by its cover. I have found many a books that turned out to be excellent reads just because the cover was eye-catching or it was interesting. This one is no different, so here is the trade paperback. This is the one that I read. Very cool cover. Got the synopsis on the back. It's not that different from my hardback first edition, except for the back. Say the cover is just the same. Spine is the same, but it's got a different back. The book itself, it's just a black book with silver leafing on the spine. I love the hardback cover. I like that it has this extra illustration in the back. There's nothing that really has to do with the stories that are inside. It's just a cool cover. And for that, I give the hardback easily 4.5 out of 5. And the trade paperback, I'd give it like a 4 out of 5. I'm not going to read the synopsis. It's basically just kind of like reviews and the connections between stories of mortality and the afterlife, guilt, stuff like that. This is going to be one of the longer videos of mine because there are 20 stories. I'm going to go through each one of the stories and tell you what I thought of each story. Overall, the book overall, if you just want to know the rating for that, I'll give it to you now. Overall, I would give it a solid 4 out of 5. There are 2 stories in it that I read previously because he released Blockade Billy as a novella in hardback. And in the back of that, you also got the short story Morality, and both of those are in this book. So I didn't care for that, and some of the stories are just kind of overall, 4 out of 5. If you enjoy good short stories, interesting short stories, and you love Stephen King, check it out. Now, if you want to hear about each individual story, okay, here we go. So there's 20 short stories in all. The first one is about 50 pages long, and I took notes and made ratings as I went through the book. So the first one is Mile 81. And this is about a car that eats people. If you get close to it, it like comes to life. It like sucks you inside the car. And it is sitting outside, parked in this abandoned rest area. And people keep coming to this abandoned rest area for whatever reason. And they get close to it. And they wind up dead. I gave that one a 3 out of 5. Next is Premium Harmony. This one was about 10 pages. And this is one messed up story. So, it's about this couple who they're married, they fight all the time, and then something happens to one of them at a gas station, and the reaction of the other will totally shock you. I only gave it a 2 out of 5 because it was just, it was whatever. The next one, story number 3, is called Batman and Robin Have an Altercation. This one's about 13 pages. And this one is a really sad story about a father and his son. The father has Alzheimer's, and this story is all about the end of his father's life, and the son goes and visits him every Sunday. They go out to lunch to Applebee's, and one Sunday there's a horrific accident that happens. That's all I can say about it because it'll ruin it for you. This was a solid 3 out of 5. The next one was about 13 pages. It's called The Dune. And this is about a judge who is dying. He's in his 90s, and he tells his lawyer, who's at his home, to write up papers for his last will and testament. And it all deals with this island that is off the coast of the property that he owns, and he owns the island as well. The judge has been visiting this island for most of his life, and this island holds a very special power. I can't tell you what that is because it'll ruin the story. Solid 3 out of 5. It was a fun read. The next, this one was good. This one's about 36 pages. It's called Bad Little Kid. I'm just going to tell you right away, this is a 5 out of 5. It's the first 5 out of 5. This one is about a guy who is on death row for killing a kid, and he's telling his lawyer why he did it and the story behind this kid. And I have to leave it at that because there are so many like what the fuck moments with this story. It was so good. I loved this story. Number 6 is called A Death. It's about 14 pages long. This is a Western, and it's about a guy who gets arrested for murdering a little girl. And he claims his innocence all the way up to the end. And the ending has this little twist that you're just like, what? Solid 3 out of 5. Next one is The Bone Church. It was like 8 pages long. And there's like a theme to this book. It seemed like the shorter the story was, the less I liked it. This one I only gave 2 stars out of 5. King has all these little intros to each story. And in this one, he talked about this was more of a poem than a story. Maybe that's why I didn't care for it. I'm not really into poetry. But it's about an expedition through some unnamed jungle, and the explorers are dying off right and left. And they're searching for this church that's made out of bone. Like I said, 2 out of 5. It was okay. Next is the story I was telling you about at the beginning. I had read this one before. It's behind and included with the Blockade Billy hardback novella. But this is about a struggling couple. The wife is a nurse, and her husband is a substitute teacher / author, and she works for this really insanely rich priest. And you find out how he got all of his money in the story. And he wants to know what it is like to sin, but he's old, he's confined to a wheelchair, and so he wants to pay her to sin for him. And it's kind of like he makes her an offer that she can't refuse. They really need the money, and this money that he's offering will set them up for life. And she just has to do this one bad thing, and that one bad thing comes with consequences that she never foresaw. It is a really good story. 4 out of 5. Alright, the next one, number 9, is called Afterlife. It's about 12 pages. And it's about a guy, he dies of cancer, and he learns the secret to life and death, and he's offered a choice. And it's a choice that he has made many times before. That's all I can tell you about this one. It is a really cool, really, really interesting story. I gave it 5 out of 5. It was so good. The next one, number 10, is called You Are, or Your. It's about 57 pages. And this one has a lot of connections to the Dark Tower series that King does. I haven't put the Dark Tower on the channel yet because we haven't got to it, but it's coming. This is about an English professor who buys a Kindle, and he soon realizes that it's a gateway to other worlds where famous authors have written books that he's never heard of. And he learns that there's a price to pay for owning such a device. It has the low men in yellow coats. If you've read the Dark Tower series, or you've read Hearts in Atlantis, you know who these guys are. Very cool story. 5 out of 5. Just it was fun. It was awesome. I loved every minute of it. Alright, number 11 is called Herman Wouk is Still Alive. Herman Wouk is a real writer. The only book of his I've ever read is The Caine Mutiny, but he's written a bunch of books. So he's a real person. This one's about 18 pages. This is a strange story about two friends who have had nothing but hard lives. And then one of them wins a scratch-off for $2,000. And she pays off a credit card, she rents a van, and she takes her best friend and all their kids for a visit back home. And on the way there, everything goes horribly wrong. Solid 3 out of 5. it was a story I didn't see the ending coming at all. Number 12 is Under the Weather. It's about 16 pages. And I thought this story was really good. It's about a guy who loves his wife more than life itself. She becomes very ill, and what happens next changes his life forever. The only thing I found wrong with this story that I didn't like, about halfway through I knew how it was going to end, but you got to read it. It is really good. 4 out of 5 stars. Alright, we're approaching the end. We're at 13. 13 is another story that I've read already, and it is Blockade Billy. It's about 38 pages. This was originally released, like I said, as a hardback novella, and it also contained the story Morality. This is about a baseball catcher whose name is Billy. He's good, like really good. He plays for the New Jersey Titans. Everything is going great. And it's 1957. The New Jersey Titans don't seem like they can lose. Until Billy's dark secret comes to light and everything goes to shit. Solid 4 out of 5. It's a really good baseball story. The ending is really creepy. Definitely check that one out. Next is number 14, Mr. Yummy. This one was about 16 pages. This is a funny little story about death. It takes place in a nursing home, and a guy is telling his friend about Mr. Yummy. This guy is gay, and Mr. Yummy is this guy he saw in a club excuse me, back in like the 70s, like 40 years ago, and he's telling his friend that he knows he's going to die soon because he is seeing Mr. Yummy getting closer and closer, and he saw him in the nursing home this morning. And he gives his friend this 100-year-old pocket watch. It's like a family heirloom. And it's a parting gift because he knows that his son will just hawk it for money, and his friend will take care of it and cherish it and maybe pass it on to his kid. Has a very cool ending to it. Solid 4 out of 5. I really enjoyed Mr. Yummy. Number 15. This one's only about 4 pages, and it's called Tommy. This one, it seemed really personal to Stephen King, and the intro to this seemed like he was talking about somebody he knew, but it really doesn't work for a reader because you don't know the backstory. He says that it's not the guy's real name, but it's about this guy Tommy and his funeral and what happens at his funeral. He died of leukemia. It didn't work, I thought, as a story. I gave it 2 out of 5. Number 16 is about 25 pages, and it's called The Little Green God of Agony. This one is about a super sick, like, rich asshole. He survived this plane crash, and instead of like sucking it up, pushing through the pain, doing the work in rehab, and getting out of bed, he's laying there basically wasting away trying to buy his way out of bed. And he hires this dude who says that he can take away the pain that's inside of him, that it's actually a demon that is feeding off of him. And the nurse in this story is great because she's not buying into any of this crap, and she goes off on this dude and tells him what us the readers are like thinking as we're reading this. Really cool story. 3 out of 5. Number 17. We're almost done. That Bus is Another World. This one was 8 pages. This one was interesting because I thought that it really plays into the society that we live in now. This all about me and mine, and nobody has compassion or an inkling to help one another. It's all about our self-centered selfishness that we live through life with. This all about me society. And this guy is on his way to New York to make this big presentation to this company. He's had nothing but bad luck. He had a 5-hour buffer set for himself to fly into New York, make it to the hotel, make it to the meeting on time with time to spare. It didn't work out that way. And he's sitting in a cab when he witnesses a murder on a bus. And the people on the bus, they don't even realize like what has happened. This dude just sits next to this lady, whips out a knife and slits her throat. And everybody is so self-absorbed in their phones and not what's going on around them. Nobody notices, but he notices. And the killer notices that he's in the cab and just saw him do it. And he flashes like this evil smile. And then traffic starts moving again. And this guy, all the way to his meeting, contemplates on whether he should call 911 or not. It's very frustrating. This story like pissed me off. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It's unbelievable how this jackass reacts in this situation. It totally wasn't how I would react. The next one is number 18, and it's called Obits. This was my favorite out of the whole book. It's about a guy who discovers that he can write obituaries about people who are still living, and then when he finishes the obituary, they die. And this newfound power of his also has some very creepy and disturbing consequences. And I can't say anymore because it will ruin this story. This story right here is, if you're going to read any story in the book, read this one. It was so good. It's about 37 pages, total 5 out of 5. This one was awesome. The next one, number 19, is Drunken Fireworks. This one's 29 pages. I really enjoyed this one. This one was a fun, funny, kind of... It really wasn't a horror story. It was more of a comedy. Kind of like a horror comedy. What happens isn't funny, but in a way, like, if you're a horror fan, we think shit is funny when it shouldn't be funny. I mean, let's just be real. So it's about a guy and his mom who every 4th of July, they're competing with their neighbors across the lake. Now, they've run into some luck with life insurance and winning small lotteries. So they have money where they don't have to work anymore, and as long as they live within their means, they're set for quite a while. And they have this fireworks competition with their Italian neighbors across the way. Now, supposedly, these Italians are connected to the mob. Nobody knows that for sure, but that's the rumor. And this competition, year after year, gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And what it leads to, it's hilarious. Like, I'm not gonna lie, I laughed. Total 5 out of 5. This is definitely one to read also. Alright, and then the last book, or the last story, this one is really sad. This was probably the saddest story of the book. 15 pages. It's called Summer Thunder. And it's about the end of the world. There's been a nuclear war. There are still safe zones, but they're not safe for long because the radiation is spreading across the planet. And this is about this man's last days on Earth after this global war. His wife and daughter died the day it happened. They were in Boston. One of the nuclear warheads was targeted at Boston. They died in that. And he has a neighbor who's dying of radiation poisoning, and he noticed his dog is starting to pass as well. And this is his last day, or days, I think it takes place over 2 days, on Earth, because he knows he's going to die. There's nowhere to go, there's nowhere to run. It was one of the saddest stories, if not the saddest, in the book. It was a solid 4 out of 5. The ending is just like heartbreaking. So that's all I have for you on this video. We're taking a short break from Stephen King because I was supposed to have read the Dresden Files. So we're going to read a couple non-King books, and then we'll be back at it. The next Stephen King book will be Gwendy's Button Box, and that is because we finished up Mr. Mercedes, so we don't have to read the last book for that. So we actually skip to the next book. And then with Gwendy, it is a trilogy. I'm going to read the trilogy. I believe only the first book was written by Stephen King and Richard Chizmar. I think Chizmar finished the series, but we're going to read all 3 of those before we continue on with Stephen King. Next on the channel should be Gone to See the Riverman. I started reading that. That's kind of creepy. Can't wait to tell you about that one. That's all that's going on. That's all that I have for you. I know this was a long video. I tried to make it as short as possible. Hope you have a wonderful day. Till next time, read more books.